It's okay.
This isn't sight.
Okay. I think we are back live again.
Okay.
Wait, someone's playing something in the background.
Oh, are we live? It says like a 5-minute countdown.
It should be live on YouTube.
Okay. It also says Skype is asking my screen. Don't really know why.
Okay, I think we're live on Twitter, and Twitch. Yeah. Yo, someone's playing some sounds in the background. I put her back on the chili cam for now. Do you hear that? Am I playing it somewhere on my computer? Okay. I think I have to restart the YouTube stream. Or where? Yeah, I know, because like we went live and my thing crashed, so it restarted. So I have to restart the stream. YouTube's annoying like that. It doesn't let you reuse the same screen. Yeah. What are you seeing right now, Peter? And where are you watching? Okay. Yeah, YouTube. Is YouTube actually live right now? Yeah. Is it? Yeah, I think because it's Yeah, so I'm just gonna finish setting up this YouTube. I think you have to set up a new link. They like basically made it like a 1-second stream. When it crashed, it ended it. Yeah. Is it on the camera with the chili or no? It is? Yo, can you comment something on the YouTube? Can you send the link out, Pete? Okay. I'm gonna retweet out the new link. And yeah, it is. Okay, alrighty. So, anyone on the call, please like mute yourself for now, except for like Liz, just so we don't get any background noise. And
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Hey, everyone. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's an MBA. It's the first time around. Hey, everyone. How's it going? And welcome to Spicy Take. I am your co-host, Liz, and I'm joined here by my co-host Hammad. So this is a very new little initiative from MetaMedia. So the aim of this live stream and MetaMedia overall is to be able to document and broadcast what's happening in Web3, not just from a technology perspective, but also from people and community building perspective. A lot of the times in crypto, I think people come for the tech, but you really stay for the people and the culture. And this is the purpose of the film, to capture a little bit of that magic. So, Hammad, do you want to give a brief intro about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Hammad, also known as MetaDreamer. I've been involved in the Meta Cartel / Ethereum space since like DevCon last year. That's when I kind of came into the space, and I've been building some fun stuff with Metagame, MetaFactory, Raid Guild, SourceCred, and yeah, so now doing this, I guess, which is fun. But yeah, that's me. Liz, you can
Awesome.
let us know about yourself a bit.
Sure. So I work on the product side at Affinity, and I previously worked as the head of venture development at a travel startup in Berlin, and I also worked in alternative investments at Goldman Sachs. And it was actually really through that experience that I realized the current financial system is incredibly flawed, and a lot of these big financial institutions get their Ks or their calls or whatever. They really do try to position themselves as a technology companies, but the problem is they are running on the same ancient rails, and the issue is not, all of the innovation that occurs, like for example with Venmo in the United States, payouts still take a certain amount of time because nothing can really change the underlying rails upon which our financial system runs. And for me, that's what is so exciting about the possibility of Web3.
Yeah,
and it's fascinating because people complain about the time it takes for transactions to process on Ethereum or Bitcoin, but in terms of like sending wires in our traditional finance system, it would literally be faster for you to, like, if you want to send money from the US where I live to Australia, to jump on a plane and bring a duffel bag full of cash, someone at the airport and give them that cash. It'd be faster to do that than send a wire, which is like absolutely crazy in today's world. Yeah. So so we're all joined by some other members of Meta Cartel on the call. Does everyone want to go around and introduce themselves?
You guys can turn on your video if anyone wants to
be
on the call. But yeah, otherwise, let's hear it. Keith, you go.
Yeah. We nominate you, Keith.
I don't even exist. I'm not even here.
Oh. Seems to be a glitch in the matrix. Keith's not actually here. Only his voice is.
Only his voice.
It's a bug. It's a bug.
Yeah.
We're in a simulation. And Pete, the
Sorry
narrator.
about that. We'll go have to beat some of the people that are our developers working on the simulation to fix Pete. How about you, Peter? Is Peter here?
Yeah, same thing, I guess. Just like stuck in the mempool.
Hey guys, glad to have you. Whoa!
You can talk now, Peter.
It's like a rare collectible.
Jesus Christ. That's insane.
Where'd you get that from?
We gave these out at East Denver.
Dude, does everyone get one?
Do
you have one?
Yeah, I have one. Yeah. This is mine.
Dude. Whoa, dude, you have a really great, like, I want to tell you, Hammad, like on Telegram, you have like a really good profile picture.
Oh,
where did you take that?
At my friend's studio.
Oh, okay. I was like, this is not just like a webcam or like iPhone selfie. I'm like, there's production quality in this.
Yeah.
It's a really good film.
Okay.
So.
Hold on. Someone saying audio is kind of choppy. Can someone verify on YouTube if the audio is choppy?
Yeah. Is the audio
Let us
choppy?
know.
Say.
If anyone's watching on YouTube, I should probably open it on my phone here actually.
Sounds good on YouTube.
There's at least 12 people watching right now. 13 now.
Nice. Very
Oh,
cool.
nice. Is it live on Twitter? Also, you guys can message in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely encourage people to, yeah, and chat. Oh, no, is it choppy? Victor just said it is.
Yeah, it's pretty choppy.
Okay.
Okay.
All platforms?
Okay. Let me see what I can do about that.
Is it just the video or is it also the audio?
I have a sense that this might be Skype.
Oh,
Like,
really?
we're using pretty ancient technology.
I know.
I wonder if you can stream via YouTube, like through Zoom. Like,
Yeah.
if possible.
Let me see. I think it might be on my side. Let me.
Like from like that connect.
Yeah, I'm gonna close some of that extra stuff I have open.
So for people on the call who are listening to the live stream, is the audio okay, or is it just the video that's choppy, or is it audio and video?
Also, someone comment on stuff. I want to see if the comments are working too. You guys are gonna debug this with us live. This is why we have live streams. It's a group effort.
Oh, okay. Yolora saying he was hearing Liz twice, but it's okay now. It's just double the fun, guys.
Good stuff.
Oh, okay. Those of us in the live chat, is it better now in terms of the audio?
Still hear me? I think so.
I can hear you.
Okay. One sec. Who's still in our Skype? Is it still bad? Did anyone update us?
Oh, they said that my video is really choppy when I talk.
Okay. Let me see what I can do here.
But you're good, Hammad.
Okay, maybe. Okay, I have an idea. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a screen capture instead. Yeah. Okay. No worries. All right, let's keep going.
You know, Web3 is one of those terms like a lot of different people. So Hammad.
I think like it's in the name itself almost, right? It's like the next iteration of the internet, right? Like if you think about the impact the internet had on the world and just how drastically it shifted, all of society, right? Like it's honestly for a lot of us who were like born in the internet age, it's hard to appreciate because we don't know what it was like without it. But like it's crazy, like just at the rapid pace of like advancement that's happened in the last like 15, 20 years, just from this advent of smartphones, right? And that was purely just on the basis of like being able to share information across borders, right? Or not having a barrier to sharing information. And for the next, like that was like Web 1, right? And then Web 2 was like all those social media where you had like, Twitter and Facebook and all this sort of stuff where you can actually now have a conversation. Whereas like, Web 1 was like MySpace, where it was just like a one directional thing. So then it became bi-directional. And then I think Web 3, what it'll do is like the fact that we can now encode value into these systems. And we have like a native exchange of like finance or value over the internet that enables people on the internet to take action now, right? It's not just talking anymore, but it's about doing. And that's the really cool part about Web3 is like, it's a group of people who kind of just like live on the internet and are coordinating on a global level to like build this new, like essentially societal like framework almost, it's like, it really is a new restructuring of how money flows and how money works. And money is really at the end of the day what runs everything, right? Money is what runs the world. So in that sense, like being able to have more like liquidity and like share it openly is a super powerful thing, I think.
I think one thing that's super interesting, totally take for granted coordination that's possible because of technology. Just to just jump through 3 eras like Web 2 and Web 3. Web 1 was really about the dissemination of information. In a lot of ways, I actually see parallels to of the printing press in the 1400s by Johannes Gutenberg. At that time, it was super revolutionary because incumbents and in fact the printing enabled the Reformation, which is Catholicism to Protestantism, but it also undid the monopoly that the educated elite had on literacy and education. Because now that books were widely proliferated, people were able to be educated. That led to the blossoming middle class. It's but there's still sort of same narrative around monopoly has control over one thing, but through dissemination or actually rich people. So that was Web 1 in my point of view. Really around the interaction, consumers and producers of information, and also that you're relying on a centralized man has goals, and you really never really have certain. And with Web3, to your point, Hammad, it really is about value creation, and it's also about revolutionizing. So the inherent problem of the internet is that there's no real way to really inherit state. There's no mechanism for that, but state is necessary to be able to have a meaning with services and goods. So there's 2 workarounds currently with like the current system. So it's like cookies, but as a user, you have really no say or influence what that information is going to be used for, and it's not really going to be used to benefit you. And second of all, in terms of state, it's currently being held by centralized technological monopolies. So that's like Facebook and Google and so on and so forth. And there might be technical with that, but the fact of the matter is, power today on the internet does not accrues to these centralized middlemen. And to your point, Hammad, what you're saying earlier about the power of Web3 is that it really enables the internet to go back to its free and open root.
Mm-hmm.
Take control and have control over how data is being used. And there is a native mechanism in terms of money and exchanging value, which is super fascinating. And when I think about Web3, it's one of those things where in the same way, when, mobile phones were invented, I don't think people could have foreseen the sort of implications that would lead to down the line. In the same way, we recognize the implications of Web3. And I think we're going to look back 30, 40, or 50 years. No idea what was even possible.
Mm-hmm.
That sea change. So, I'm full of optimism when it comes to Web3. And I don't think anything gets me as excited in terms of thinking about the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, that's all I had.
So I was thinking, you and me, Hammad, and anyone else who's on the call and people who are in the chat, we can do like a quick round of icebreakers for people to get to know us, particularly, people we haven't met before. So I can do like a couple of more informative ones and a couple silly ones. So I guess to start on a more serious note, Hammad, what drew you initially to crypto? I know you mentioned that you've been part of the Ethereum ecosystem for a while, but how did you hear about it, and what was your initial impression?
Yeah, so I've probably I've been looking at and following the Ethereum space back since 2015 pretty much, but I never really was actively involved in building it, right? It never was even a thing that crossed my mind, right? It was just
totally.
I was kind of just I was learning about blockchain. I was super interested in what Ethereum was doing. I already had experience before mining Bitcoin, back in high school.
Cool.
So
nice.
I was already
on your computer?
familiar with yeah. So I was already familiar
nice.
with crypto. And then it was kind of just for a long time just kind of it was cool in theory, right? And it was really only that it started I think 2017 where it really felt like things are starting to take off and be a lot more exciting, and things are happening and it's moving, right? It's no longer just some experiment. And a lot of that of course was driven by that whole price action, going crazy, and it does draw a lot of people into the space. But I really didn't.
For sure.
Yeah, I didn't get involved that much because I was seeing that a lot of it was just scams and people I was it was just this stuff's cool, but what it's actually being used for it's not that interesting to me, right? It's I was actually planning on doing going into AI as a career, and
Whoa,
it was only in when I started to see after the bear market that holy shit, there's still people working on this stuff, and it shook out all of the BS of anyone who was around during the bull market, and just seeing that holy shit, there's people actually still dedicated to this thing no matter the price, right? That's something that was unique to Ethereum space that I didn't see anywhere else, is a bunch of really, really smart people spending a lot of time and effort in this when it isn't something that they would do logically. There has to be some deeper reason they're doing this. So I decided to come to DevCon in Osaka and just get a feel of what it is, and it was only there that I really got it, when I was able to talk to the people and see the people and see holy shit, there's this is what I want to be doing, right? It's just the culture and the just everyone's almost to a fault idealistic views of what we can build for the future, right? For me it's I don't even care if it happens or not, but I want to die trying almost, it's this is it's a fulfilling thing to be a part of. So for me it's about the journey, not the destination, right? So even if this is something that because a lot of people say oh, this is never going to work on a large scale for a long time and this and that, but I don't think it needs to, right? We can just start using it ourselves already and having fun with it, right? And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those, and for those people who say oh, it's never going to work, is not really working. So, are you going to be complacent to actually try to make an impact and try to make a difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what you said totally resonated with me, Hammad. I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to crypto, we get a lot of people in the space, who are quite opinionated, and they'll write like Medium blog posts, and they're active on social channels like Telegram. But these people actually don't really have firsthand experience through a DeFi. Everything they know is kind of like what they've gleaned through other people's like Medium articles and Twitter and so on and so forth. And what I can say for sure is that you will never really understand the Web3 movement unless you're actually contributing to it. It's like it's not enough to just be on the sidelines. And what I enjoyed about Web3 and Cartella in particular, how welcoming everyone has been, and how much of people's like personal time and effort they're putting in, and it's really, really just a fantastic community. And I'm sure Peter can to attest to this, but community building is something that's often quite neglected, I think, by a lot of crypto projects, because they think they have this misguided assumption that
Let's see, any crime. I mean, like one thing I've always had like this fascination with was like doing like the 21st century like Robin Hood stuff. So if I could like go hack like a bunch of things like on the blockchain, or like whether it's like financial things, like essentially like wiping debt, stuff like that, because everything is so digitized, using that with like to like kind of give back to the poor. And it's funny, like Mr. Robot is kind of, the show is kind of exactly about that, and all the fallout or like unexpected like bad outcomes. And it makes me actually think a lot about everything we're working on. Is like, we just think about all this stuff in such an idealistic way, but like, what are the ways it could go bad? Because like, if it's a powerful tool, then it's powerful for doing good and doing bad. So there's like, with great power comes great responsibility and all that. So
you're totally right. I actually just started watching Mr. Robot. I don't know when it came out, but it's definitely a few years ago. And I think at the time it came out, it was kind of like, oh, this is like, not realistic. Watching it now, it's almost like the show was very prescient, because it's like, oh, these are exactly dominating our news today. Corporations do not have our best interests at heart, and they are beholden to shareholders. And if you think of an individual's actions or an organization's actions being driven by whatever incentive structure is in place, like corporations do not have any sort of incentive structure set up to really better the public. It's really I think therein really lies the issue. So
how about you? Crimes.
that exists at the moment, I would love to just like get a little sliver of whatever the gas, all transactions that are happening, and have that be sent to my wallet. Really, like pensions aren't available for every job in the US, so that's my retirement. Exploit some sort of like smart contract bug. So the spice
Edmonton is funny. Yeah. Yeah, that is. Thanks, you just doxed me. I'm just kidding. Edmonton things like Edmonton's like we call it Deadmonton because like it's known for like having like no culture and like nothing to do at any time. So I guess like the most Edmonton thing I've done or I've seen is like um, let me see.
Yeah, like what's the vibe of Edmonton? Is it like agricultural? Is it like
It's
industrial?
it's weird because like we're like weirdly hipster, but we're in like the Texas of Canada. So it's like everyone here is either like um, just like the most super hipster like
Yeah.
type of person, or like the racist like you know like southern country type people. Those like the
Oh, it's
two
like one or the
interactions you
other.
get. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think like in terms of the most Edmonton thing I've seen, I mean, oh, actually, I've seen this guy. He goes around all summer long with like a foxtail, and he's like shirtless on
Hmm.
like rollerblades with a guitar, and every
Is he
day,
like a
all summer long,
furry?
that's all he does. Yeah, like he just goes around. That's like he's known as like he's like semi-famous in Edmonton, and is
Whoa, what do you guys call him?
uh I don't know. It's like a rollerblading guy, or
Foxman.
actually, he goes by the fox actually, like because he literally has a fox tail, like almost like a furry, but he's not a furry really. He's like this like super. He looks like he's like super tan, like he looks like he's from California.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but yeah,
Dude, I'm getting some like Naruto vibes from this guy. Um, that's awesome. So I live in San Francisco. I'm originally from the Bay. In terms of like the most San Francisco thing that's happened to me. So as you guys might know, San Francisco has like a really big public defecation problem. And it's funny, the city government actually has something called a poop patrol. Five and their sole task is to like clean up poop off the street. And all of these people, by the way, make almost 200,000, probably like, I don't know, because it's private property. So my roommates and I had I don't want to say it's the worst happened in 2020. I would say it's definitely up there.
oh, I just
Oh,
realized the chat's not
yeah.
working.
Oh, I see
Um,
Yalor just
Well,
sent, yeah, just like
like
sent across.
fascinating story. Like, thanks for sharing.
I wish it didn't
Yeah,
happen.
I'm very, very interested in that decision, like to go with that story. Like, can have the option to not share it, but I'd love
Hey,
to.
it's I'm an
Yeah,
open
well,
book.
you're very comfortable. I applaud you.
So, okay, so Yalor and Liz has Goldman insider knowledge, would like to hear more about where the switch happened for her. Yeah, so yeah, I worked at Goldman and it was one of those things, it's super funny. It's like when I studied grad and when I feel like especially when you're younger, you're like chasing prestige a lot. You're like, oh, this is like the prescribed
wait,
job at like an investment bank.
your audio
Yeah.
just cut out for a
Sorry.
sec for me. I think it's back now.
Oh, mine? Oh, it did?
I think it's back now.
Yeah.
Should be good. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So, yeah, in terms of where the switch happened for me, I started working at Goldman and I was like, oh, it's sort of like this, I think from an outsider's point of view, it's like, oh, space where the public doesn't know a lot about. And there's a lot of like super interesting stuff that's happening. And I don't know, I had like a pretty like whatever experience at Goldman. I mean, it taught me a lot, of course, but what I realized was that our traditional financial system is not the future, and it's in dire need of something to actually replace it. So, I was pretty like disenchanted from actually working in finance for a couple of years, and then, and then moving to Berlin where I got my first taste of working at a startup. That was like I think in like 2016 or 2017 when there was like the peak of the ICO mania. And in Berlin, I started hearing from people who were like getting really involved with like Ethereum and Bitcoin. And Berlin's just like an awesome city overall. So that's where the interest was sort of sparked on my end.
Berlin, nice. Yeah, I've always heard good things about Berlin.
Yeah. All right. So let's let's turn.
The chat. Yeah, I want
Go ahead.
to figure out this chat thing. You should be able to see it on your YouTube locally. So it's just not showing up on the stream right away, but we can check it on our phones and see what people are saying there. There you go. Oh wow, there's actually a lot of people here. What up, Yaler, Scott Stevenson, Niren, Adam.
Oops, is that
Ben, Deacon, whole crew's here, Leo, Peace, of course.
You know what we should do? You should just invite someone like random who's not in the crypto space to go on every episode.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that.
And they're just like trying to keep up with you.
Yeah.
That might be really interesting.
Huh.
I think that would be really interesting too. I was actually chatting with my brother about Web3 stuff, and he's 18 years old. Like very skeptical of like everything. So yeah, he's like a really, really smart dude. He's actually made like a ton of money like trading options in high school. I was like, I don't know why I didn't have that sort of drive when I was in high school, but I was sort of talking to him about the possibilities that are afforded in the DeFi space. And actually think he would be like a really interesting guest to sort of compare like what's possible in the centralized system versus the decentralized system. So more to come on that. So, Hammad, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk through some of like the spicy topics that have happened in our space this week?
The Twitter hack. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
It's funny because like the people had all these ideas of what it could have been, but like the fact that it was just so many high-profile people all at the same time was like.
I know.
It's either like an inside job or like. Someone hacked like some sort of like third-party tool, but yeah, it turned out to be an inside job, which is pretty funny. But I feel like YouTube's like, or Twitter's like the one place that you like, if this happened anywhere else, I feel like people would be more mad. But like Twitter, I feel like people really have like they feel like it's like on their side more versus like other social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram and stuff. So. But yeah, it's funny, of course, like iconic that it's a crypto scam. That the worst thing that you could do if you had like essentially like all the power in the world, which is like having all these people, you can say anything you want, and they chose to do that. It's cool.
Dude, yeah, it's like I actually think it's low key kind of really fun. First, like you said, from like how the hackers were able to access all these accounts, it was through their internal. Funny, like you can design like the best security systems, but if targeted so many high-profile accounts. I mean, like Joe Biden, Elon Musk, like former New York. 17,000 US. Really small haul. If you think about the combined like followership that all of these accounts have on Twitter, plus like, I don't know, like the messaging itself was like hilarious to me too. It's like, oh, send me your Bitcoin and I'm feeling generous, so I'm going to send you double back your Bitcoin. I'm like, yo, if you believe this, you deserve to have your crypto stolen. I was like, have you never heard like there's no such thing as a free lunch?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think like
I don't know. I thought it was silly.
It's funny because like it's for a crypto scam, but like crypto is trying to build the scenario that wouldn't have allowed this to happen, where like an employee even has access to
I
be able
know.
to give to other people like that. But yeah, let's
Yeah, no, completely.
talk about Alex Massmedge if he's gonna move to SF and the prediction market for that.
Yeah, totally.
I wonder if
So,
Alex is
so for
watching.
those of us, yeah, Alex, reveal yourself in the chat if you're watching. But yeah, so earlier this week I created this prediction market on Omen that was around when will Alex Massmedge move to San Francisco. And actually, if you let me open up the prediction market. I think that the votes currently are skewing toward him moving after in 2021 or after, which does make sense, like given our current like global situation. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff currently that's happening in the prediction market space. And if you go back like a few years ago in the crypto world, prediction markets were one of like the first use case categories that emerged from the depths. And now there's, a lot of like, there still continues to be a lot of innovation. But as it pertains to prediction markets, I still think there's a lot of stuff that could be done that has not yet been done. So, for example, I think something that would be super interesting, and Hammad, you and I chatted about this earlier, was, in 2017, there were some researchers at MIT who were exploring the topic and trying to see how they were able to get like the most accurate information sourced from crowds. And what they found, like according to their study, was that it's actually more helpful, like from a prediction market perspective, to actually get two inputs. So right now it's just like, oh, like in the Alex Massmedge example, it's like, when do you think you'll move? But what they're saying is another like potentially super helpful data point is, what do you think the popular opinion of the crowd aggregated to like choices that people make actually is more likely to reveal like what will actually occur. Which I think is super interesting. And
like, just one note about that, like the funniest part about that is what that does is it rewards the people that can essentially figure out, like it rewards the people who are able to figure out what everyone else is going to do. So it's essentially like the people who are best at like reading society will get rewarded more, versus the people who are going to do that thing are going to be like, I guess they would win it too. Like that's the thing, is like who would the value flow to in that scenario? Because like this is how you, this is like, with metagame, we talk about this a lot, is like, we can encode the meta of like where money flows, right? Based on like the incentives we build. We can warp the game to like drive a certain outcome, right? Like this example of like, Hudson Jameson shaving his beard. Is he going to shave his beard by this date? What that means is like, if you want something to happen, that means you vote for the opposite of what you want to happen. Because like if you vote no, then it makes sense for him to then shave his beard and take the money, because people voted no, and yes was like the unpopular opinion. So it's like, it's in a way almost like a way to fund things to occur, right? So if I say that like, hey, this project isn't, like you make a bet on this project is going to ship this feature by this date, right? Mike from Korea, if you're listening to this was you talked to me about this, so if you're watching this is you. But yeah, like if we're going to make a bet that this company is, or this project is going to reach this milestone or whatever, if I want this milestone to happen, I would actually bet that they're not going to make it, because if they do make it, then that project can make money, right? So you get two scenarios: either the project that you wanted to support meets its goals and you're able to fund it and help it achieve its goals by like pressuring it to achieve its goals, or if they don't achieve its goals, you make some money, right? It's almost a win-win situation for public funding. So I think this is something cool to actually like explore a bit more, is like use this as a mechanism for public funding, or even actually like you put it on a personal level, right? Like we can have like you can have like many sort of like working groups or guilds where you hold each other accountable and you make bets against each other that like we're gonna, accomplish whatever we're trying to accomplish, right? Like, hey, we want to ship this thing by then, or hey, I want to, like Alex is doing right now, go on a run like 5 kilometers every day, right? So if people want to fund Alex to do that, they would just bet, no, he's not going to go on a run. And then the more people that say no, the more he has to gain to actually do it. So like it kind of rewards like going against the grain, or it rewards going against popular opinion, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a really No, that's a really interesting point. It could be used as a forcing function to get people to do what they, whatever their goal is. And it actually reminds me a lot of like New Year's resolutions, right? Like the reason why like they almost always fail is because there's no like reward mechanism. It's like, okay, if it happens, like nothing really happens, and if you don't do it, also nothing really happens. Mm-hmm. So that could also be like something, so what you're saying, like creating a prediction market to really keep people accountable and on track for whatever it is that they're trying to do. I think prediction markets are a really fascinating way to go about that. So some other interesting like takeaways around prediction markets. So prediction markets are something that are not even like specific to the blockchain space, but I think in terms of how rewards are distributed, et cetera, obviously through Web3, I think it's a more preferable model, but 20 years ago, the U.S. Department of Defense, they actually tried to create this prediction market around what will happen in the Middle East. So their thinking was, there's wisdom in numbers, like we want to crowdsource this information to try to predict what will happen politically in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. However, they were forced to abandon this program because they got so much backlash from the public who were so afraid that this would lead to some sort of like terrorism futures markets. Precisely to your point, Hammad, what you're saying about
audio
like.
Cut out for me.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, say something.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Cool. I was trying to fix our audio at the same time, so
okay.
That's why.
I know, you're like.
It should be better now,
actually.
Yeah, I'm like, you guys should see me here. I'm like, I like my chat here, this thing here, trying to like be composed and pay attention to the conversation at the same time and do things.
You're
so
like,
it's fun.
You're like
time.
a live DJ. You're like a live stream DJ. Come
on. This is ADHD performance art. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway,
Niren said the audio is doubling. Is it still doubling, Niren?
Okay.
Let us know in the chat. Liz should sound better now. So, do you still hear Liz? But yeah, keep going. We'll see what this is.
Yeah, no worries. Just to wrap up what I was saying. So this program, this like prediction markets for a Middle East politics got canceled because the public was afraid that this would lead to some sort of like terrorism futures market. So unfortunately they abandoned it. But in terms of other things that I think could potentially be interesting for prediction markets, which actually have not happened yet, but I hope occur in the near future. So there's this concept of combinatorial prediction markets that I to my knowledge, have not yet occurred with decentralized prediction markets. So there's like 2 examples I can give of what this might look like in practice. So the first is around something that is called Boolean betting. So it's like, how do is it possible to synthetically create a prediction market based on other prediction markets that occur? So going back to this Alex Masmej example, what if I wanted a more specific prediction market, which was like, Alex moves to SF in 2021, and also like Joe Biden is president in 2021. So instead of like creating a new prediction market with that specific one and therefore fracturing liquidity, what would if there's some way to like roll up these different prediction markets into like one prediction market? And because the probability of those 2 things happening simultaneously is also lower, maybe I could get like an additional payout. I don't know. The possibilities are really fascinating to me. Another example around combinatorial prediction markets is around like permutation betting. So let's use like a horse race as an example. Let's say there's like 10 horses in the horse race, and there's like, let's say it's like a really popular like subject on Omen or in other prediction markets. And let's say, there's like prediction markets for like, oh, horse A will place first, second, third, all the way down to 10. But what if I wanted to place like a range, like a horse A will place 3 out of place 7, and that's like my specific prediction market. And again, you could like roll up prediction markets to fit into this broader one without fracturing liquidity. But anyways, I haven't seen that on like other prediction markets, but yeah, maybe I'll like tweet about it or something. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny, like if you want new ideas of like Web3, it's basically just like take what's there and like meta it, like put something on top of it and just like layer it. And it's fun to keep layering things on as like Legos, and we get that increasing like power as we like put these things together. So yeah, I think it's really cool to be able to do that. And we've seen it happen with DeFi. People take existing things and build like combinatorial things on top of it. So if this prediction market's on it, we can program it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's interesting because you really start to see like now when we're going through it, like the impact of programmable money. Because before you think just like, oh, programmable money, that's cool, like I can automatically send transactions and that, right? But like it's hard to really appreciate that what actual impact that's going to have. Like with the internet, what people thought the internet was going to be useful for back in the late 90s or early 2000s is like very different than what it's useful for now. So that's what I think, like a lot of us in the space, it's really important for us to keep an open mind and like just don't get stuck into like tunnel vision on one thing, right? Like that's happened in 2017. Everyone just tunnel vision on ICOs, right? They're like, ICOs are the greatest thing ever, and this is all that matters, and we're just gonna like drive ICOs till like the cows come home, right? But only after that whole thing crashed is when we actually had real value being created, because people then were like, okay, it's no longer that like insane financial incentive. So like people actually take their time to explore more beyond what was just like the popular thing to do. And I think that's what we need more of in this space, is like exploring beyond just like the things that are happening here, because it really does become like a incestuously like bubble space where like everyone's just like talking to each other and just like recycling the same things. And I think the biggest way to drive that is bringing new people into the space. People who don't have all the existing context of what already goes on, give them a taste of what's possible and like what people are doing, and then they'll usually come up with the best ideas of like where else we can take this and where else we can go. That's kind of what Metacartel was, right? All these people like kind of it's like we saw things happening on like the higher level in terms of like either like die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. So like sort of strongholds in the Ethereum space back in like 2016, 2017, like they start to like lose their like influence or impact on the space, and they get out of touch with the community and what's needed. And Metacartel felt like this was more of like a organic like community thing, like the people on the ground, doing stuff. So I think that's it's important for us to keep that cycle of like new people coming in and new blood, purging the old and bringing in the new, and not letting it stagnate too much, right? And making sure that we renew ourselves in the process as well. That has this idea of like gutting the chili. If you guys want to see the chili, I'll show them the chili. It's on YouTube. You'll be able to see it there. Fun chili. Yeah, we can. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How about you?
Yeah, I think that it's funny because I think that working in tech and specifically working in crypto, it's sort of quite intuitive or graspable by people, a lot of people who like don't necessarily work in tech. So, for example, in the United States, there was some kind of like, I think this was like around the Iowa caucus or something like that. There was some kind of voting app, but apparently I didn't necessarily like fact check, but what I had heard was that they hired a bunch of like recent boot camp like grads, like developers, to be able to create this app, and also they didn't open source it because a lot of these politicians were like, oh no, it's going to be dangerous if we open source it. But because they didn't open source it, there was like some security flaw, and it actually ended up like, I think a lot of votes were actually not counted. I mean, electronic voting is a very very thorny topic in particular, but in terms of things that could have gone wrong, like a lot of things did end up going wrong. And I'm also reminded of like the early days of Wikipedia. If you saw the news coverage around Wikipedia when it first started, even in very like prominent media outlets like the New York Times, I mean, they were like tearing apart the idea, right? They were like, this is crazy, like how could you have just like any like random Joe Schmo off the street like contributing to an encyclopedia? This requires like copyrighted photos, and this requires like decades of domain expertise and so on and so forth. And as you can see now, like who buys like a full encyclopedia set? It is just like crazy. Like you would just never do that. And so it just goes to show, I think popular perception around efforts that are decentralized can change quite rapidly, and I'm confident that they will change for DeFi as well. So Hammad, maybe let's dive into like one more topic before we wrap up for today. So I wanted to chat with you around your thoughts with the high ETH gas prices recently. Do you think that, like, when do you think ETH 2.0 will be released? What has your experience been with high gas prices?
I think like it's funny because like people like there's a lot of like double standards in the Web3 space. I feel like on one hand, people really are against the idea of like having to pay for stuff. They're like, everything should be free and everything should be open source, and no one needs to get paid for anything. We can all just share everything, get away with it, and everything's good. But at the same time, they are willing to pay like hundreds of dollars a month in gas fees, whereas they probably wouldn't want to pay like $5 a month to subscribe to like, or towards their favorite dApp, to actually support the dApp. We could then probably make better optimizations on that. And it's interesting too, because like the fact that people just accept paying higher gas without like complaining about, well, they do complain about it of course, but they have to pay it to use it, so they're going to pay it, right? Like one interesting thing that people can actually do is embed, like essentially charge more gas as like a fee for using your dApp. So instead of charging like a percentage fee that like the user has to pay, it just gets hidden into the gas cost. So it's like the user's paying like $1 extra in gas, but that extra value they pay, you can actually like capture that value and sell it. Like I think it's essentially like tokenized gas, where like you can charge for gas and buy it up and then use it later. So it's cool because that could then also act as a means of like subsidizing gas costs for other users of the dApp or other parts of the dApp. So like you could actually have like an experience where it's fairly seamless, where the people who pay for gas or like pay extra for gas, that money can go into like another contract, which can then be used to like subsidize gas costs for something else, or like use existing gas for something else. Which I think it's fun. But overall I think the people are rushing, or like people are saying like, oh, ETH2 been delayed like so long, this and that. And I think like getting ETH2 out sooner is good for like the price of ETH, and I think that's what people are really saying it for. But like I think it's like actually a pretty strong sign of like how strong of a developer community we have, and how like upright people in this space are, is like they care more about making sure things work and making sure that we do things the right way than just kind of shipping deadlines and trying to like create like hype and sell more coins to people, and like, you know, for the whole financial aspect of it. And I actually want to dive deeper into that, or like research myself deeper into that, like why that is, you know, what incentive structures are there for devs to like be so like, you know, diligent about that versus like a lot of other, you know, chains or projects that don't have that like discipline. And that's, I think, for a lot of people hard to appreciate, is like they think it's best to vote for, or like put their money behind like the teams that are just like constantly like pushing out new stuff. Like that was in 2017, right? Like new announcement, this, new feature, that, new, right? Just keep the news cycle going, this and that. And it excites people, and people like think that, you know, we should put money behind this because things are happening. But Ethereum is the only place where they'll like say upfront that things aren't happening, and like disincentivize you from like wanting to do that just because like they actually want to focus on building something that's going to work and be useful. So, and anyone who builds software knows that like, you know, you can't have like software like built really fast and also built really robustly. You know, good things
then you
take
incur
time,
a bunch of like technical debt. No, I think you're totally right. And if you think about it, what Ethereum is trying to do, and you know what we're all trying to do in the Web3 space, it literally has not been done before. And if you just think about stuff that's built on the traditional tech stack in terms of roadmaps, those get pushed all the time, and so much more so, you know, it makes sense that something like Ethereum like might encounter a few delays because, as I said, it's literally never been done before. And I think it's better to take the time and really like vet what you're doing as opposed to like rushing something to market, which isn't going to be stable or secure. So I was on East Gas Station to take a look at the top 5 like projects that are driving gas consumption currently. So out of the top 5, like 3 out of 5 are actually straight out scams or scam adjacent. I can like dive into that a little bit. And the 2 like more legit ones are Tether and Uniswap V2. So with Tether, they migrated, you know, last fall over to Ethereum, and I think that they have been, I mean, they are literally the #1 driver or gas guzzler of ETH at the moment. So the rest of it is kind of like DeFi or like scams like disguised as DeFi. The number 2 gas guzzler for Ethereum at the moment is something called Smart Wave Forsage, which I've literally never heard about before. I like looked into it this week. I was like, how is it possible? Forsage? I've literally never heard of it, right? I was like, how is it possible that they're the number 2, like, you know, like gas guzzler when no one's heard of it? And I was like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. So essentially, if you go to their website, what they'll ask you to do, they'll be like, oh, you know, like, they're like, oh, this is like crowdfunding and decentralized and all these buzzy terms. But what they actually ask you to do is they ask you to send 0.05 ETH, and they're like, oh, and then invite 3 friends. And for each like of the 3 friends you bring in who like also pay that amount, you get like a small, you know, amount of the ETH that they've paid. And if they invite friends, then you get, and so on and so forth. So like classic. And actually, if you go to Smart Wave Forsage's Etherscan, like at the top it says like the SEC in the Philippines, and it actually is called the SEC as well in the Philippines. They're like, oh, this is a Ponzi scheme. Like, do not interact with them. Yeah, and then the other like 2 like kind of scams or scam adjacents. There's one called MMM, which is like another Ponzi scheme. There's also one that's called Easy Club, which is like an Ethereum lottery. But yeah, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, who is like, I've like never heard of any of these projects on Twitter, so it must be like people new to crypto who are like sending their ETH. So it's sad. You know, it reminds me a little bit of like the ICO hype mania, where there's a lot of bad information out there, unfortunately, when it comes out to crypto. And I think that's one of the goals of MetaMedia, is to become a trusted resource in the space, to be able to like lay out, hey, like here's what's going on in a no hype fashion. Like here are the things you need to watch out for, and so on and so forth. So Hammad, do you want to, you want to dive into some of like the next steps, you know, following this live stream? So I can kick us off. So you guys who are watching, you know, in the live chat, we want to hear from you. Like, what topics would you guys love to hear about? You know, what feedback do you have for the call? I did see a lot of feedback about like my audio quality, so I apologize for that. So we'll like figure out a solution for the next weekly live stream. So it's going to happen every Friday. And additionally, we will also send out a weekly newsletter called MetaBrief. So I'll circulate, we'll tweet about like where to sign up and so on and so forth. Anything else from you, Hammad, or anyone else on the live chat? Want to say anything?
Yeah, so we finally got the chat working on the stream, so the questions can come in on the screen now, which is good. So yeah, like I mean, we can just kind of keep it open, like see what people say. Whose fanny pack is on the table? It's my fanny pack. So it's actually the MetaFactory fanny pack.
Whoa.
It's kind of dirty, but it's the mark of something that's well used. Yeah, that's the MetaFactory fanny pack.
Whoa, nice. So much swag. It's awesome. Yeah, so
Can
yeah.
you read the
so
chat?
I think that,
Do you see the chat, by the way?
yeah, I see, like, hold on, let me see.
On YouTube, so you can see it too, what people are saying.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. This is your house?
Yeah. It's not a house, but it's my condo.
It's a school bus, and you're just living inside it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Hammad, so much for co-hosting. You know, I really, really enjoyed the discussion. I'm really looking forward to the next live streams. And again, like, we want to hear from you guys in the comments. You know, our DMs are open. Reach out to us. If there's anything that in particular that you think would be interesting for us to cover. Whoa, your jacket! We'd love to hear from you all. Dude, you are like dripping. The drip never takes the back seat with Hammad.
The MetaFactory bomber. You can see we have the MetaCartel logo. That's the MetaCartel DAO address on there. Shout out to Peter. He designed the front of this jacket.
Hey.
And then we have the back side, which you can see.
Nice.
MetaFactory
logo. Dude, that is so lit. I love that.
Magic trick.
It's like reversible.
Reversible.
Whoa, it's like you get 2 jackets for the price of 1.
Exactly.
Okay, if there's like a merch website, you need to be like the model on that website, like a video of you doing exactly what you just did.
Yeah, well, that's what MetaFactory will be doing is merch. We should have MetaMedia merch too, actually. That'd be cool. For like live streamers, like if you only for people who like show up like every week or something for like a consecutive amount, they'll get like a special NFT and like a shirt or something, or they'll get like ability to like buy a shirt, you know, stuff like that.
Super cool.
Yeah, it sounds like a Ponzi. It is. That's the thing. So about the Ponzi stuff, like the fact that that's still the most popular thing is like, it's a shame that we're not taking advantage of that fact. We can build a Ponzi for good, you know, like why not? Like
we need to like trademark this phrase, Ponzi for good.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we can actually do that and then use the funds to actually like put to, like, imagine however many millions they've raised if like that money went into MetaCartel to fund grants, right? Like that would be awesome. But yeah, I think, you know, we need to use our imagination more.
Yeah, so I'm excited for, you know, I'm sure like in crypto time, like every week that passes is like, I don't know, 6 weeks in like normal tech time. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of like really crazy stuff that happens like throughout the rest of the year, and really excited, Hammad, to like dive into it with you in future live streams.
For sure.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah,
thanks again,
chat,
everyone.
You can let us know too.
In.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll see you guys all next time. Take care and stay spicy.
Yep. See you guys.
Bye.